Okay, you're live.
I call this meeting back to order out of executive session. We have one matter of business to take care of from executive session. So Commissioner Shainfeld.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to reauthorize a letter of intent that was originally signed on May 17th, 2022, and authorize the chairman to sign.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. This brings us to for the good of the order. What do we have today? Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Shainfeld.
I had the opportunity to attend 2 meetings last week. Waco was very good. I want to thank the Waco board for the work that they did to put that on. We had great attendance and a lot of good information shared, a lot of good conversations across the state. And then I also had the opportunity to attend the Wyoming Economic Development Association meeting in Sheridan after that, which was also a great event. And again, a lot of good information shared that will benefit Sweetwater County. And then I also want to share just a little bit of information from SEDC. Project Bison has a public information event that's coming up on October 5th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in room 3650B up at Western Wyoming Community College. And this project is the largest direct air capture project in the world. It's Carbon Capture Inc. and Carbon Solution will be hosting this event for the public. Western Wyoming Community College is having a manufacturing day on October 7th from 10 to 1 p.m. at the college. I believe it's actually in the atrium. And that is in partnership with the Southwest Wyoming Manufacturing Partnership Executive Leadership Team that I sit on. And they've been planning this for quite some time. And it's pretty exciting to have all of our different industries come to the table and talk about what we have for growth opportunities and job opportunities for our youth in our community. SEDC is also hosting the final seminar of Leading the Way for Growth and Expansion seminar series, and that is October 20th. And it's actually going to have a presentation from Robin Cooley, she's the director of the Department of Workforce Services for the state. And she's going to be discussing some updates in the newest grant programs and an overview of the workforce training resources that are available to businesses throughout our community and state. So lots of good stuff.
Good stuff. So Project Bison tomorrow being October 5th.
Correct.
Okay.
What
Just
time
checking.
is that, Lauren?
It is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it's 3650B at Western Wyoming Community College.
The weird room.
Great. Thank you. What else do you have, commissioners, for the good of the order?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lloyd.
Yeah, I've had a couple of meetings, including library is one, and some various community meetings over the last couple of weeks, and some meetings with department heads and elected officials. Also want to say, I have talked to Bailey at Castle Rock, and due to my fault on some miscommunication, they are going to be putting in to do an update at next meeting. And I do want to give a couple positive updates in talking to Bailey, as I do think there's some misinformation going out of there, that they have now offered jobs and sent out offer sheets and have a staff that will meet an acceptance that should meet the needs of the community based upon their research and working with the consultant that we've used in the past. They've been having active meetings with the consultant to look at scheduling and different things as such as that, and they're working on finalizing the building options. So they have made significant progress, and I'm excited to hear what they're sharing with us at the next meeting. So that was my big thing there, and then and that will be it for today.
Thank you. It sounded like you had more there. Just that's good. Anything else for the good of the order?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Tolman.
I attended Waco, the Wyoming Association of County Elected Officials, along with Lauren, and the separate Wyoming County Commission Association meetings. There was discussion on the property tax reform. The 2 most viable options are for circuit breakers. In other words, putting a cap on the percent of income for a property tax, or deferrals until a death or a property is sold. We had a workshop on civility. I'm not sure how you say
looks right or sounds right.
Activity, anyway, it was exercises in understanding others' points of view and deliberately engaging in relationships of respect and empathy with others who are different. So that was interesting. And I think we need more of that in government. I think we do a good job as a commission, but I think in a lot of groups that it is not sometimes as good as it could be. Board of Equalization legislation is being proposed, a new bill with more specific guidelines for the commission. We can't make policy, but if they could give us a little more guidance, they talked about having regional hearing officers who have had some training, maybe in dealing with boards of equalizations for more consistency. Anyway, that will be a legislative issue. Right now, we only have the option to remand the decision to the assessor to reconsider it or to affirm the assessor's opinion on a property tax dispute. Great meetings. There were a lot of them. Another thing I wanted to call out, maybe it's too late to do it this year, but they asked us to have blue lights on all of our public buildings for the Veterans Awareness this month. And I know we maybe don't have time to order the blue lights, but I'll talk with Gary McLean about maybe we could do that in another year with Gene and them. Making people more aware of veterans and what they do what they've done for our country. The WCCA winter meeting will be December 11th through 13th, I believe, in Douglas. There is a Colorado Compact meeting December 14th in Las Vegas, and I am planning to attend that. I think it's important that Wyoming have more voices at that meeting. And I attended our coalition meeting on September 22nd, and we are still dealing with the cooperator issues and getting updates. So I don't have any pre-decisional items to send out or to talk about this time, but we may have some letters to ratify it at the next meeting. You will be getting those in your email. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anything else for the good of the order? Excellent. Then I will, seeing no further business for this illustrious body of great minds, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? I didn't think so. Thank you. Good work today.
Now we got a workshop
We do. We've got a workshop for our
for policy.
policy and procedure. Would you like to
Mr.
break?
Chairman, can we have about 5 to 10 minutes between?
How about we start at 11 o'clock?
Oh, perfect.
John, did you? need-
That's 11. So you exceeded my expectations.
I know it won't take much. I just probably could have done it from Zoom.
Okay, here we go with our welcome to our Board of County Commissioners Policy and Procedure Workshop. Gary McLean, we're working on Chapter 6. Thank you for sending that out so we could review ahead of time. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and County Commissioners. Chapter 6 is kind of it's an important section. It's smaller than some of the others and less scoping. So there's a couple things, as Doc pointed out, some recommended changes, really updating antiquated language relative to the policy statement to make it more inclusive. Obviously, this is an area that continues to evolve. I think we've done that. Just to let you know, this is an area that I sent off to get some feedback from Employers Council on, because there's as I said, kind of an evolving component to this, that they have folks, that's all they do. So I've not heard back yet from them. But I will bring that back if there are some additional changes. What I have here is what I think reasonably addresses the needs we have today, and that's in Section 1 and Section 2 primarily. So with that, I guess, is there anything on those sections that, if you had a chance to look at them, that you'd like to talk about first?
Questions, commissioners?
Oh, looks good.
And then is Commissioner Lloyd pointed out, some of the other sections, we had made some small adjustments on previously, and that had been addressed. One of the other things that is referenced in here that I did not send out is the electronic form for reporting. So if there's somebody who wants to report it, there's an electronic form, a fillable form that's available. We normally put that as an appendix. But when this is out in the electronic format, that form will be attached to by reference in the policy. So like a hyperlink that'll have the reporting form and questions on that.
Good. Questions at all then?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wendling.
Mr. McLean, you brought up something that just struck me as the electronic form.
Yeah.
Which will be with like all the rest of our policies, electronic will be there.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wonder if it's ever been talked about or thought about is, and this is scary, but yet sometimes it provides an avenue of what do I want to say, whistleblowing of immediate supervisor and that type of thing. But I didn't look, but as we move forward, is there an intent to possibly put a sexual harassment forms available if someone wanted to complain anonymously? We, on the school district site, when we really dwelled into that,
Yeah.
not that it was right or wrong, it
Yeah.
just, it tell you what, as a building administrator, I'd never been so busy the first 6 months when this happened. So
Yeah.
that's the scary part, but
Yeah.
it turned out to be the right thing. Is we on the very front of the district website is sexual harassment complaint link. Takes you right to the forms. You can fill them out, and they can be filed anonymously. But yet, when they are filed, our tech department followed through to make sure they were legit before they were passed on
Sure.
or assigned to a building administrator to investigate. Is
Yes.
something like that, has there been conversation or something like that in
I
the
think
county?
so. I don't think. so.
Or is
We
there
talked about-
need, not need? The only reason I say I look at a need as, you know, if I were a department head and someone wanted to file, first thing they're gonna say is, no, he's my boss. He's gonna,
Sure, yeah.
okay, what's the avenue around that? Well, take it now in this case to the board, but
Right.
that might be a before the board opportunity. So, I'm just thinking.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that we've kind of gone this rounds in a number of areas, even about county government generally.
Yeah.
Right. And so we have had some discussions along those lines. I think there's two sides of it, and where you reside are kind of a tough decision. So one side of that is you want to identify problems as early as possible and have an opportunity to address them before it becomes larger. And to that extent, sometimes those things are helpful. On the other hand, they also become tools for people to cause grief and create a lot of work and direction for which they're, I don't want to say necessarily frivolous, but baseless. So we have both of those issues. And so, I certainly think it's something that give some thought to. From my end, it's no problem. The electronic forms can be submitted. There's a place for a signature and a date. If we didn't want to do that, obviously filling out a form is anonymous of its own. If it's not signed or their name put down, then so it's certainly the process would lend itself to doing that if we wanted to include that information as part of the procedure. That's fine. To the other point, I think that there's accountability is not necessarily hierarchical in the county, meaning that the board is responsible for the employees under the board, and the elected officials are responsible for people under the elected officials. So the board doesn't have the ability to directly discipline those people in those other areas. And so it's a little bit harder in that regard when there really does have to be some accountability. But you could still identify potential problems. And as you know, we've had those at different times and tried to address those things when they come up. So I'm kind of open to either way. I would say right now, I think that especially giving the political nature of the organization, both at the elected official level, the board level. I think it's important to identify the complainant, what the problems are, as much information so that it can be investigated thoroughly. Does it mean you can't investigate an anonymous complaint? Well, maybe, but it's hard to say what the involvement is if you don't have that dynamic interchange to ask questions and get additional information. So, yeah, I mean, I think the way that it is provides a avenue to redress the concerns, but if the board want to do that, I'm not against it, and the process doesn't really require much.
And the link wasn't there just for anonymous complaints. It was also, somebody could fill it out and type their name in and,
Sure.
just at their beck and wish, I guess. But yeah, it did create a lot of work. I will agree with you, but it finally feathered out,
Yeah.
worked its way out. And
Had a
you
little
found out,
backlog.
you found out a lot of times it wasn't harassment.
Yeah.
It was something else, and was dealt with differently, but at least you sorted through those issues.
Gary, if someone were to submit a form anonymously, is there a possibility or a way of tracking where that came from? Can we, could we?
That's probably more of a Tim question. I suspect, there probably are some technical ways if it's submitted electronically within our network, with IP addresses and stuff, but I don't know outside of that.
Not as simple as, oh, this anonymous came from the email of Smith J at the Sweetwater,
Yeah.
So there's actually a system, and Simplot actually used it. I'm familiar with it. There's a system that it can go through a third party vendor.
Okay.
And
good.
so it goes to the third party vendor. They can have communication through the system. So it's like a separate login, and then it will send an email to whoever the complainant is and say, there are some questions to be reviewed or whatever. additional information is needed. They don't ever ask name, any of that stuff. But I mean, it does allow for communication through a third party person.
And
I don't
Employers
know what
Council
that
does
costs.
Employers Council
do they?
does that also.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, really, if you say it's going to be anonymous, it should be anonymous rather than not tracked through anything. And it's hard to do that.
Nowadays, yeah.
And quite frankly, I mean, if you're gonna report something and expect action taken on it, it's really hard to do so without providing all the information. And I don't know.
Good. Other questions for Gary? Comments? Okay. I appreciate this one. Yeah, thanks for the work on this. And we're making good headway, aren't we?
What's next?
It's a little more straightforward. So the other thing I would mention, and you brought this up, Doc, and is the whistleblowing concept is something that's real in the forefront of public governance right now. And so we're going to treat that separately. We'll address that later on because that has to do with a much broader issue about and you've seen this a lot where people were embezzling funds or there was a legal activity or other things and they threw out government. Doesn't have to be just this. This is very specific to this topic and is governed and has rules through the EEOC. But the concept with whistleblowing has a much broader thing, which has to do with the administration of county government and public funds and use of public equipment and contracting. And it's a much broader area. And so we'll address that as a standalone to address that part of it. Now, that's an area where I think we very well could have a broader discussion about that issue, about just being able to get it, because a lot of those things could come from the public or it could come from a vendor or it could come from a partner. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more in that context, because I think that's an important one also. And that'll be a standalone on specifically on that policy.
That looks like a good time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate the work very much.
Sure.
We're moving right along
Sure.
and we'll do it
Ashley.
again.
Yeah, and tell Ashley, thanks for getting that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, much appreciated. Okay, well, thank you. And we'll wrap up our workshop on chapter 6 and look forward to chapter 7. So thank you.
Whatever's
Mr.
next.
Chairman, I had mentioned blue light for veterans, but it should be green light
Green
for
light.
veterans.
Green light, blue light, red. No, it's green.
Yeah, green light. I wonder if maybe we could do something next year, get the lights and do the county buildings or something with green lights. Or-
So yeah, that's already in progress.
Okay, I
So
thought maybe it would.
so
be.
we'll have something even for this year.
Okay,
And then if, that's programs continued, then we'll bring it up, but it's implementable at the main buildings
yeah,
now.
I thought
Yeah.
it was, but I just wanted to bring that up and correct it. Maybe you could have green and blue both.
Yeah, that's right.
Get the Christmas going.
You like a disco
Don't give anybody any ideas.
Oh,
Thank you.
come on. Where's the fun?
We did.